Benvinda. We're so glad you chose to spend your evening with us. Before we begin tonight's event, we will be interpreted. Tonight's event will be interpreted into Spanish and Portuguese. Are there instructions for how to use this?
Oh, is it turned on?
What's that?
There we go. Now it is. We'll just walk folks through it.
Okay.
Interpretation that is now on.
Okay. Omar, if you have the helpful tips for folks to do it, that would be great.
Sure. So for everyone joining, we have interpretation, and as you can see on the screen, you can just follow the icons, and as you see the symbol for interpretation, the globe that's at the bottom of your screen, as pointed out at the bottom of the screen. En español, para interpretación puede ir a la parte de abajo de la pantalla y se puede ver ahí mismo donde se puede seleccionar el icono del globo.
Thank you. My name is Danielle Mkali, and I'm joining you from Minneapolis. I'm a part of Nexus Community Partners and the North Star Black Cooperative Fellowship here in the Twin Cities. And I'm on the steering committee for Collective Diaspora. I invite you, and please ask that all of you that are here, if you could please share your name, where you're from, and what brought you to the session in the chat. We are so happy to be here with the members of Keep It in the Culture Co-op, and we're eager to hear their successes, challenges, and lessons learned in their efforts to keep the traditions of Mardi Gras owned and controlled by the community that created it. This event is a part of a series of public conversations hosted by Collective Diaspora, profiling Black cooperatives throughout the African diaspora. English, Spanish, Portuguese interpretation is provided by the Afro-Resistance Language Justice League. Our plan for our learning tonight is to begin with an overview of Collective Diaspora by our coordinator and fellow steering committee member, Omar Freya. We'll then hear from the members of Keep It in the Culture, and following their presentation, we'll be posing some questions for them, and we'll also invite questions from all of you that have joined us tonight. We encourage you to use the chat for questions and comments. Welcome, everyone.
Wow. All right. And thank you all. My name is Omar Freya, and I'm going to jump in just sharing about Collective Diaspora and what we're about. So Collective Diaspora, we're the folks that are organizing this event, and we're really excited for it. We are a global co-op of Black co-ops and support groups. We are a membership-based organization. We're Black cooperatives and Black-led cooperative support organizations from across the African diaspora. Basically, we're connecting the global Black solidarity economy. That's what we're about. And our mission is to build a regenerative economy grounded in racial and gender equity through the development and growth of Black cooperatives around the world, wherever we are, wherever Black people, Black communities are. That's what we're here for. This is something that we recognize. What's fundamental to us is recognizing that a major part of the wealth that exists today in this globalized capitalist economy was built on the kidnapping and exploitation of African people during this transatlantic slave trade, through colonialism and neo-colonialism to this present day. And, you know, there's the Colombia's first Black president, Black vice president, Francia Marquez. She's referred to this economic model as an economic model of death. And all of us that are building cooperatives are part of an economic model of life. We need each other, especially in Black communities. That's why we are here calling together all elements of Black communities across the diaspora, all of us that are grounded in the cooperative traditions of collective ownership, collective work that kept our ancestors alive and that we carry with us today wherever we are. By deepening our connections with each other, we make our own cooperatives and our organizations, and in turn, our communities stronger and more resilient. So for that reason, we're about growing, we're accepting members. We invite all Black cooperatives, all Black-led cooperative support organizations, wherever we are, wherever you are in the world, to join this. Our steering committee member, which you've heard from Danielle at Nexus Community Partners in Minneapolis. Our steering committee members are from the US, in Canada, and the Caribbean. And we settled for this year on 2024 on 3 different goals. First one was building collaborations among Black cooperatives. The second one was building the capacity of the Black cooperative ecosystem. And the third was to build membership. So if you want to get involved, whether it's through having your co-op or organization join, or donating, or sharing some other resource to support Black co-ops and Black-led co-op support groups, please take a moment, visit our website. We'll put the link to our website in the chat. Make sure to fill out the sign-up form. It's the first thing that pops up when you visit our website. It's a way for us to be able to have your information so that we can send you newsletters. And yeah, just participate, join, and support. With that said, I'm going to turn it over now to the people you really came to meet. Keep It in the Culture is a New Orleans-based worker cooperative that supplies the culture bearers of New Orleans' Mardi Gras with the materials they need for their outfits and a whole lot. They're the ones that are keeping wealth in the Black community. They're keeping traditions in the community in the hands of the Black culture bearers that put New Orleans on the map in the first place. So with that, thank you all for coming. We're excited to have Keep It in the Culture members, Big Chief Beautiful, Nick Holmes, and Diego Pinzon join us tonight. And now I'll pass it over to the 3 of you. Thank you for being here.
Hello. Thank you. Gratitude extended. Appreciate the invite and welcoming you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank y'all. We're all excited to be here.
Welcome. I am Big Chief Beautiful. I am what is called a Mardi Gras Indian. It's a culture that derived from a group of ancestors who wanted to be a part of New Orleans celebrations, such as Mardi Gras. At one time, we weren't able to participate before my time, of course. But now, keeping the cultures here to make it possible and more affordable to participate in all Black New Orleans culture. That's our purpose. That's our meaning.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. I'm Central City Nick, preservationist, historian of the Central City community. In fact, Central City is the home of Mardi Gras Indian culture, starting with Creole Wild West, as well as what we refer to as second line culture. 1884, a benevolent society by Youngman Olympian was the first benevolent society to put a jazz band behind their deceased member, which created what we know as today the second line culture. Alongside that, I'm also a working owner for the Civic Studio. And as a preservationist and co-op developer, we was able to make some connections and draw some connections to facilitate an opportunity where we could develop a platform to deliver the supplies that the Mardi Gras Indians use annually, right? At this point, economic extraction is at an all-time high because none of the supply outlets are actually a part of the culture, right? So the dollars leave the culture bearers, and a lot of culture bearers struggle to make ends meet to continue to put together the suit once a year. So in honor of helping support, making it more affordable so that more can participate, Keep It in the Culture was born.
And I can hop in and give an intro. So good afternoon or evening for y'all. My name is Diego. I'm Colombian born, so I was born in Bogota. But I was actually raised up in New Jersey and made my way down here to New Orleans about 7 years ago. Truthfully, for the music and the jazz and some of this culture that, again, we're here really because it's on the back of these culture bearers that New Orleans is seen as such a rich and just culturally rich city and ecosystem. I myself am a musician, drummer my whole life. And a lot of, again, even my engagement, my entrance into the city as someone kind of coming in, again, is as clear as Nick was highlighting and as Chief was highlighting, right? New Orleans is a prime example, but this is a case that happens really all over the world where you have these creative economies, these cultural economies, these cultural industries that people seek after and want to celebrate and want to engage with, right? To get back in touch with that humanity and are huge drivers for economic prosperity. I mean, I think it's like $1 billion or something that Mardi Gras generates at a state level every single year, right? But again, that money, that benefit, that actual livelihood isn't making it and isn't staying in the hands of the community that's maintaining that, that's keeping that alive, that's sustaining that. So some of my background, I like I said, I'm a musician. I'm also a founder with another music tech startup and kind of got familiar with and stepping into cooperative spaces and cooperative practices by getting connected with Keep It in the Culture, my two other co-founders here, and yeah, just kind of really excited to be connecting with other folks who are also doing this work, globally.
And just to let you guys, know more about our participation in the culture as being culture barriers as well, related to operating cooperatively. I've made 30 Mardi Gras Indian suits. I say 30. Remember, like the song says, every year there's a new suit. I've made 30 suits without missing a year because of my love for the culture, because the culture saved my life. It took me off the streets. I was doing all of the wrong things. And the guy said, hey, let me show you how to sew. And ever since then, I've made a Mardi Gras Indian suit. So, it's like, not only are we a cultural business and we are in service of the cultural community, we're culture barriers as well. And we're in tune to the needs, materials, and supplies that it takes to be able to participate in New Orleans culture, from second liners to baby dolls to Mardi Gras Indians. So it's like we're operating a cooperative business and we're in tune to the products, the services, what they use, what they don't. So it's sort of kind of like we sort of fit right on in. And then as working cooperatively, where there's an overall word that's given instead of one person making a decision, we come together and we make decisions as a whole through a vote, working cooperatively. And I must say, like I said, I'm gonna jump into, as far as working cooperatively, we also work with our cooperative backers or cooperative funders. We work with them closely as well. Our books are always open. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like, even though we are from distractive communities, as Keeping in the Culture, we have an ability and a strength within ourselves to work and operate cooperatively. I mean, and I do have sales background. I grew up in a bar. My dad had me hitting a register when I was 12 or 13 years old. But beyond that, it put that entrepreneur spirit within me. You know what I'm saying? And I always wanted to work for myself and create my own dollar. And, it's like, I'm very creative when I was introduced to being able to operate cooperatively, I was excited because I wish I would have knew when I was 18 and 19 years old how cooperative businesses exist, how there is, let's just say, help you can get in all areas of your life in order to structure yourself and be able to sustain as a cooperative business, and that was real important to me, because I have never heard of anything about operating or owning business cooperative. I've owned clothing stores, I've had t-shirt shops, so I'm saying I have different businesses already. I used to sell furniture, I used to sell cars, so I got a little bit of salesmanship in me as well. You know what I'm saying? And that plays a part in operating as a cultural cooperative business. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So, that's what, I bring to the table along with what my team members bring to the table. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're here to exist and we're here and we're going to be around, guys. You know what I'm saying? Because culture, one thing I noticed about culture, it's a little bit different than a lot of things. Culture goes nowhere. It's passed on from one generation to the next. See what I'm saying? And what we're doing is being able to offer materials and supplies at a more affordable price because, the dollars leaving our community going elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really make sense. And our campaign daily, is to be able to reach out and let our culture barriers know we're there for them, even culture barriers abroad. You know what I'm saying? We're there for you as well. No matter what city, state, country you're in, we'll find a way to be able to reach out to you guys and be able to make things, let's just say, less affordable for you as well. That's where I'm at with it. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Chief, do you want to maybe, because I see you're in the shop, do you want to maybe show one of your suits? The folks can get a little familiar.
That'd be great. Keeping in mind, guys, it takes a whole year to make a suit. And it's tedious sewing, and everything is done by hand. No sewing machine. Okay? This was about 3 years ago. This suit here. Notice it's a lot of bead work, stone work, everything stitch for stitch, done by hand. But also keep in mind, that's what 3 years ago. Also keep in mind, I'm not the only one doing this extensive sewing. There are tribes across the city of New Orleans. Indian tribes all have different names, and these guys sew as much as I do. You know what I'm saying? But the key is to preserve the culture. And like I said, like I mentioned earlier, in the early days of Mardi Gras, we were not allowed to go participate. We weren't allowed to go see Mardi Gras. So would a group of guys say, okay, you don't want to see your Mardi Gras? We're going to create our own. But upon creating our own, they said we're going to use the regalia of another group of people who were oppressed by the white man, which were the Native Americans. So that's why we pay homage to Native Americans, because we use their regalia. Plus, in the earlier days of landing here, let's just say when the Europeans landed here in this land, now this is my take, okay? They so-called felt as though they saw people running around with native and they were bright colored, bright skinned, so on and so forth. But in actuality, they were dark colored people running around. History books will tell us one thing. We do the research and see something else. But like I said, we are the natives of this land. And we will continue to preserve the relationship between Native Americans and our people around the world. This suit here was 2024. This is 2024 suit right here. Notice what color faces I use a lot in this one. See there? Yeah, but that's 2024 suit. And like I said, history books, what they're even teaching our kids in school nowadays, a lot of that ain't true, guys. You know what I'm saying? Anything of color was always demonized back then, and in so many ways now, it's still being demonized, you know?
Mhm.
And me as a culture barrier, I've dedicated my life to the culture because, like I said earlier, a guy showed me how to sew because I was doing all the wrong things in life. So I decided to, since the culture saved my life, I've dedicated my life to the culture. That's why I derive on what you see here and being able to, as keeping in the culture, offer supplies. And if you notice, if you can make things cheaper, it'll get more youths, kids, youth, and adults more involved in the culture. So that means it'll be more of us preserving the culture. And I call it the richest culture in the world, honestly. You know, it's better than the Picasso because it takes time starting off from scratch, from a drawing on canvas to beading, stoning, and then placing things where it goes, you know what I'm saying? And make it into a suit, something you can walk with and carry, guys. You know, so, you know, as keeping in the culture, it means a lot to me because we want more members, of course. You know, we want more people participating to be able to continue to operate as a cooperative business, letting those guys know that as keeping the culture, you can become a member. You can become a member worker. You can become a member owner at keeping the culture, you know. And once I learned the, let's just say, most of the basics, being able to, you know, operate together with togetherness, you know what I'm saying? 3 or more, 2 or more, you know, that's what made me mainly want to get involved because each of us at Keeping the Culture, like any other cooperative, they play a part. You know what I'm saying? It's no one-man ship. We operate together. You know what I'm saying? It's a togetherness as operating as a cooperative business. So, you know, I do my best to show up every day, man. You know? Yes, sir.
That's right. Yeah, and I was gonna say, Nick, if you maybe, because I think part of, and Chief was, you know, highlighting, like, part of the value, right, that we're trying to provide and bring is that affordability, that access. But the other thing, right, again, with, and as our name implies, right, is keeping that dollar, keeping that money in the community, right? And so a lot of the economic side of it, right, we reinvest into programs and resources that we do provide for the community. So, Nick, I don't know if you want to talk about some of the other, outside of the vending of materials, some of the other things that we've done.
Yeah. I'll take a stab at it. First and foremost, I'm a community-driven individual. A lot of the background that I come from was like community, grassroots based. I used to work for an organization called Ceasefire in New Orleans, which was a gun violence prevention program that targeted high-risk youths in terms of, you know, their relationships to gun violence, and just did the best we could to try to turn them into a more positive thinking individual to try to create better, more positive opportunities. And from that line of work, I've learned the importance of serving our people. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with a wounded, traumatized people that need a level of love and patience that's just not seen often, right? So looking at my work and what I wanted to do with myself through that lens, I was able to stumble across what's called Civic Studio, which was my introduction to cooperative work. Whereas we're a designing firm that is multi-disciplinary in terms of the projects we work with. So it goes from like environmental studies to cultural arts to civic engagement, to, you know, policy development, community organizing. It's a lot that we do. But nonetheless, with that introduction, I was able to create the team and myself was able to create a space, what we refer to as Legacy of Central City, which was an exhibition that kind of displayed some of the historical facts of Central City, right? To Chief's point, Central City is a very historical place And this is where a lot of the culture come from. And this is where a lot of the idea of preserving culture come from. Citrus City is also home to the Dewdrop Inn, which was literally the incubator to what we will refer to as R&B and rock and roll music, with the greats only being able to access the Dewdrop in the Jim Crow South at that time to perform as Black artists. Also uplifting the fact that for myself, in 2022, right, like right after COVID, you know, a lot of folks had a lot of time on their hand, right? And so my grandmother, from a child, my grandmother has always told me that her grandmother was a short, dark-skinned lady with pretty long, straight hair, right? And as I got older, I began to, you know, peel back some of the myths, to Chief's point, that we've been taught in school about our ancestry. And specifically for my family, my grandmother's grandmother was 100% Washita indigenous American Indian that had married a Canadian horse doctor, right? So, like, my family has no real ties to this idea of like being anywhere else other than this land. This is our homeland. We are indigenous to this space, to North America. And understanding that, and you know, geographically, I grew up in Central City on the Zulu Parade route, which is the Zulu Parade is actually the first the first and only indigenous themed parade that parades Mardi Gras Day, right? And in history, we wasn't able to participate, so this was revolutionary to kind of have a Black crew step up in that way and put together a full-fledged parade. But fast forwarding into what Keep It in the Culture brings to the table in terms of community work, having that background in community really kind of propelled me into the space of looking at what we do with Keep It in the Culture as a way to help support and give solidarity more than anything to the culture bearers of the city of New Orleans that help keep our culture going. And with that work, we've developed what's called a Keep It in the Culture hydration station. To Chief's point, you know, this is a long tradition that's been going on, and you know, having those suits on your back, carrying it around for an extensive amount of time, you're going to get thirsty. So it was Keep It in the Culture that developed this idea of providing ice cold water for some of the culture bearers, the Mardi Gras Indians, the drum beaters, the tambourines, you know, as a way to say, hey, we recognize the effort, and we recognize the energy that you're putting out to keep our culture alive. And with that, we want to offer you a cold bottle of water. You know what I'm saying? And that was just like one layer of community work. We have also launched a school supply giveaway, right? When kids are returning back to school. Last year makes our second year hosting a school supply giveaway, right? Where we was able to supply 75 bags filled with the essentials that kids need to start their school year off on the right track. Also, we have just recently hosted a Queens of the Nation gathering ceremony where we welcomed all the Queens of the Mardi Gras Indian community to come out and share space with us at the Keep It in the Culture retail shop where Chief is right now, as a part of our grand opening ribbon cutting celebration. And as we move forward, the goal is to stand in solidarity with community and have that be one of the beacons of light and hope that can shine on our culture to help inspire the activity of cooperation, right? To kind of lead this charge and initiative of collective memory, right? And remembering, becoming a member again to ourselves and who we are. You know, being here in New Orleans, Congo Square during slavery was a post where the slaves on Sundays was able to freely congregate and share items that they had crafted, whether it was handcrafted material, whether it was pastry goods, bakery goods, like whatever they had to come to market with and share with each other. That's the spirit of cooperation, and that spirit has been in the city of New Orleans for close to 300 to 400 years, right? But today, our people will participate in practice but don't have the terminology to place on the practice, and that's the disconnection. So as a part of what Keeping in the Culture do is we want to lead the charge in educating people on cooperative practices so that we can I guess like remember who we are, so that moving forward we're more autonomous in our efforts. We're more consciously aware of the authority that we have, the sovereignty that we have in terms of shaping our destiny. So in a nutshell, I don't want to take up too much time, but in a nutshell, I think keeping in the culture, the chief point, we here to stay, and already we have a lot of support from culture bearers that understand the purpose, the why. We want to, at the end of the day, create a platform where we're 100% eliminating economic extraction, right? Where folks that's not a part of this culture is not receiving the bulk of the dollars that's spent on the materials that our culture bearers are spending to create the regalia, right? We need to create a platform where that money is funneled into the culture, so there's more school supply giveaways, so there's more hydration stations, right? So there's more engagement and opportunities being created to fellowship and gather and come in, stand in unity with each other as a culture, as a cultural arts community, as a Mardi Gras Indian community, and just the other layers of cultural arts that's expressed here in the city of New Orleans. So yeah, that's kind of where we at with it.
Thank you, folks, for just offering that energy, that initial pouring over of us, and just offering all that you've got to share about the origin story. So there's some things we've heard already, and I'm gonna put a fine point on them. So I've just got some questions that I'll be bringing in. We'll invite folks, as you've heard things that have made you want to inquire further. Drop your questions in the chat, and we'll kind of bring those into the conversation. But first, I want to start with just kind of putting a little bit of a fine point on, you've talked a lot about why, and hi folks, I'm Mike Strode. I didn't introduce myself. One of the steering committee members of Collective Diaspora, and also right out of Kansas City, 230 Clemson Drive, 70065.
All right, KC in the building.
Right. So, appreciate having the opportunity to sit with you all.
Thank you so much.
But you talked about why it was formed, but when and sort of how did you all come together as Keeping It in the Culture? What was the what's the spark? And then, what did that spark kind of lead you to this flame? So what's that story like?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, man, a best friend of mine was a victim of gun violence. And like right before that tragedy took place, we had left school and visited Big Chief Beautiful shop where he sold CDs and T-shirts and all kind of products and stuff like that, incense and cologne and stuff like that. And that was one of the last times I was with my friend before he was killed. And so as like I think me and Chief was also Facebook friends as well. So I always seen him and his Mardi Gras Indian suit hustling, just getting the word out about preserving the Mardi Gras Indian culture, and his dedication to the culture. And with the work that I was doing with Civic Studio at the time, we was organizing what we refer to as a culture jam, which is a culmination of the year's events that we have put together. And we did a tour drive. We had community service providers, and we also had like a performance lineup that I curated. And as a part of that performance curation, I wanted to invite Chief into the mix to express the indigenous Mardi Gras Indian side of our culture, to like really give our guests a real wraparound experience the culture of New Orleans culture, right? So with that, Chief came in. He laid down a phenomenal demonstration, and since then we have been working together, which that opportunity led into an opportunity where Chief was able to put his Mardi Gras Indian suit on exhibition at the Legacy of Central City exhibition that the Civic Studio, myself and the team led in terms of some of the historical research that I had comprised and put together. And from there, uh, me and Chief was just talking, and he was like, "Man, I just always had this vision of having a material shop, where the Mardi Gras Indians could come and shop and get their materials." And at the time, a representative from Cooperation New Orleans, Suzanne, she came. She was a visit. She was a guest at one of the community dinners that we hosted as a part of the Legacy of Central City community programming. And I introduced Chief to Suzanne, and we kind of said, "Hey, we got this idea." And the idea, from Chief's vision of like having a space where Mardi Gras Indians could come and shop more affordable, to also to his genius point of like making it more affordable so more of us can participate. Because in a lot of instances, it's the economic barriers, right? The pricing of the materials that make folks hesitant, or completely not want to be involved at all because of the economic restraints. So brought the idea to Suzanne and Cooperation New Orleans, and they began to kind of work closely with us to develop the business plan and the loan memo, and just the things needed to kind of help us get in position to where Chief is sitting at now, where we actually got a brick and mortar retail shop, and the cultural arts community know what we're about, and they know that we're here to serve them. So that kind of like, from my perspective, that was the kind of like journey up until this point. Chief, if you want to add. And also, I'm sorry, man, Diego. I met Diego at so a college professor of mine, Eric Kazer. He hosts these cutting edge music conferences. And as a part of attending a music conference, Diego was presenting this new technology he refers to as Dawn, which is the ability to like cross sector studio sessions and studio files. So for example, if I'm working out of Pro Tools and you're working out of GarageBand, he created a system that allows you to still share files without the barriers of having different programs, right? So I was blown away by that technology and innovation. So I'm like, "Hey, Diego, my man, come here, let me holler at you," right? And so we developed a relationship, and Diego love for music production and just that Southern American flavor that he has been from Colombia. I'm like, man, it'd be a perfect fit to bring you in to this kind of idea of like being a cultural platform for the cultural bearers in New Orleans. And he was like, he agreed. He likes the idea. He want to be a part of it. So that kind of got us to where we at now. Chief, you want to add to that?
Yeah, see, what I found that's most important when operating cooperatively is being able to get along. That's what's important. Being able to get along, because I'm going to be real with you. I'm a little rough around the edges. Nick and Dagan can tell you that. You see what I'm saying? And they may be too in their way. But the key is to work through whatever it is and keep in mind your primary purpose. And what we're doing is to be here for the culture. You know, I mean, none of us are perfect, but I like when I found out when you operate cooperatively, you allowed an opportunity to get yourself together, get your mind right. You know what I'm saying? There's these different classes you can take, the different paperwork you can read, go home and study on how to, do this and get along with this. And I love that, honestly. It played a part of me, wanting to be a part of it because I come from a rough background, you know what I'm saying? Which, you know, I mean, it's just life, but you can get better. You can do better. You can learn to disagree at a round table and then afterwards go out and have dinner. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so that played a part, you know, in working cooperatively, you know what I'm saying? It was new to me. It's not new to me now because I do extra research. You know, I reach out to different. I don't reach out to them, but I go in and I do a lot of reading. I listen to a lot of videos, this and that. And my thing, if you're here, no matter who you are, what country you're in, and this is on me, guys, okay? I would like to be able to get to know who you are, you know, what your business is. And maybe it's sometimes I may need a suggestion. Maybe it's sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I may need a little, you know what I'm saying? A little help getting to the bottom of certain things that I may be going through. And I notice, and I mean, there were some of the questions, Mike, you're going to be maybe asking, and you know, some of the challenges, we do have challenges too. And I'm gonna just be real with you. We have challenges when it even comes to the business. You see what I'm saying? You know, knowing how to get around this, knowing what's the best way to do it. And I know there's some cooperative businesses out there who have probably went through what some of our challenges be, and you can share that information. That's what I love about working cooperatively. You know, like you said, us collabing, coming together, reaching out to each other, and us being there for each other, no matter what part of the world we in. You know what I'm saying? That's what kind of guy I am. I'll shut up and I'll learn in a minute. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I'm open for, you know, I keep myself teachable. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you know, some things you may already know that I could be going through. You know, and I'm not saying I'm going to take up a lot of your time, but I sure will express my point to you to where you may have experienced what I'm going through and could be of some help. That's what's great about working cooperatively. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And like I said, what we do here at the most at first is to be able to get along with one another. You know what I'm saying? That's what's necessary. You know, in those bylaws of the business or in our cooperating, we tuning that up right now. Our operating agreements, so on and so forth. You know, that's what's important. That's what's going to keep us strong. You know what I'm saying? And you know, the most important thing is to keep moving. We got to keep moving because we have a culture to preserve, and we want to be here for others. You know, this space is also open for culture barriers. If they're doing any kind of outreach or whatever, we were discussing this earlier about, like we had an event with the baby dolls, as well as we had an event with the queens. If those culture barriers are in need of space to be able to hold a meeting, to be able to hold an event, that's what we do. We operate cooperatively for other culture barriers as well. And another thing that we do, say for instance, you're a culture barrier, right? And you've made a suit, sold something, beaded something, drawed something, and we take it and put it on display here. We give other culture barriers an opportunity to earn a dollar as well, you know, as working cooperatively. You know,
So
that's what we do. That's what we are. That's what we're here for. Be there for the culture community. We are indeed in service of the community. Yes, we are.
So you jumping ahead in my list. So you're already talking about the community impact. So I'm gonna rewind and I'm gonna come back and try to catch.
Mike, I couldn't help but, you know.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I know
Yeah, we you know, because that's important, Mike. I like that question though. I like that, Mike. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we trying to hide nothing. Because guess what? One thing about me, I ain't cute.
Hey.
I ain't, you know, I'm willing to, you know what I'm saying? I'm willing to work it out. But the key is to keep moving, Mike. And I love that question.
Yes. So then what I want to ask, and one, I just want to point out, we got the sort of master designer here, we got, a technology innovator, we got, this a community organizer and a prolific thinker, I mean, just in this short moment, I've heard that, Central City Nick. So, what I want to know about is, what does democratic control look like within the co-op? So you've talked about like tooling up those operating agreements. What does it mean for you all to operate democratically? And that I'll connect that to the earlier question that happened in the chat. Is this a worker co-op, retail consumer co-op? What type of co-op formation are you all?
We are working on at this point. We're working on a co-op, and if I may, I would say, I think having a deep connection to why we're doing this can help facilitate the decision-making process in a way to where, like, even if there is a disagreement, there's a way we can resolve that disagreement, to Chief's point, to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. And being able to understand that at the end of the day, our why and the reason why we're doing this is bigger than any of our individual emotional ties or marriages to an idea if it doesn't work for our purpose. So being able to make democratic decisions as it relates to the float of our brand, it really boils down to, is this decision aligned with our purpose? The why we're, like, our purpose, the reason why we're in a position we're in, to service the culture bearers of the city of New Orleans.
Yeah, and
Because
I think
we also, excuse me, guys.
No, you good, Chief.
But we also have to keep in mind now, like we said, culture is different. Culture around the world is different. Culture goes nowhere. The culture of Mardi Gras Indians, baby dolls, second line, the Black culture here in New Orleans is going to go from generation to generation, from generation to generation. So us as first putting it down and stepping up to the plate to operate cooperatively, it gives the generations to come an opportunity to operate cooperatively as well. That's what ecosystem is brought in at. Getting other people involved, getting other members, worker owners, member workers, coming together to pass it along to generations to come. That's bigger than all of us. You know what I'm saying? Being able to pass it along to continue operating cooperatively. That's just how it is.
Yeah, and I think that, like, this, I'll share transparently, and I'm sure Nick and Chief would agree. Like, this, I think, has been an area of growth for us. Like, I think none of us had ever worked together in a business setting, right, or context. And so I think, like, even just learning how to, yeah, it's not like we came in at day one, we were offered, disagreeing without being disagreeable. I mean, this is definitely a space for growth. But I think that even honestly recently, like, I think that the thing too about that being, disagreeing without necessarily letting it blow into anything else is, like, once a decision gets made, we're all behind it. Right? And so even, like, we were in a recent meeting, I think someone, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but someone was like, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'm ready to roll with it. Right? So, like, cool, all right, the decision got made, the business is moving forward, this is the route that we're taking, this is the path, this is what we're trying. No one's gonna, at any point be like, oh, well, I told y'all, or I said this or that, So kind of once, like, yeah, again, as Nick and Chief both put, like, once we're able to come to that actual decision, everyone's full force behind it, making sure that we're putting everything that we can to making the business successful.
And do you think there are any specific systems that you all have improved over time that have allowed you to, like, show up differently as owners of the business? Are there ways that you all, like, conduct meetings? Are there ways that you divvy up tasks? Any systems you feel like you've built that are helping you to lean more into this practice and get better?
For me, what I've observed in terms of how we get things done is having a 24-hour access to the group chat from one. We have a group chat that, we communicate, like there's no off limits, wrong time to reach out and communicate. So communication, understanding the importance of concise communications, as well as deadlines, right? Setting deadlines for ourselves in a way that is smart, right? Creating a space where the ideation process is appreciated with great gratitude, but understanding the importance of transitioning from ideation to execution, right? And appreciating that process, and understanding that process could be different for the way I do it, the way Chief do it, the way Diego do it, but trying to find a common ground in that, so that we can continue to be efficient, if that helps answer that question.
Yeah. Any other systems that other folks want to comment on, or you all in agreement with that? All right. So then let's surface. We'll come back to this impact question because I've heard of impact, the hydration stations, the school supply giveaways. Heard that you all are making sure that culture bearers are actually able to earn a living from displaying their wares. But what do you see as like the primary challenges facing your efforts? Maybe they're internal challenges, maybe they're external challenges. What are like sort of a top three that are like really plaguing you growing this cooperative endeavor?
Well, I would like to step in on this one here, and you gotta remember this out. I don't make it look cute. I ain't gonna make it look pretty. Working cooperatively, as we started, honestly, Mike, as a pilot, right? We continue. We made a couple of errors. We purchased some things that didn't quite sell right away. You see what I'm saying? We still have that same inventory. We have another season coming, but we're put in situations to where we have to regroup, restructure the plan to continue on, which is, of course, understandable. Getting there without the proper, let's just say backing or support until we get on track. So it's like we in between, trying to get there, but we're getting there, and it's a part of the work, of course, and that's a challenge. And Mike, but what I told you, Mike, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it to all of you guys out there. It doesn't make sense to, because you and your co-op may be going through the same thing or may run across the same situation, and we can share information to get to the other side. And that's just, and it's real deal. Restructuring the plan, going at it in a different way, and conquering it. But with that space to hold on until that happens, it gets a little bit rough. Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I want to add to that. Some of the challenges we faced. One was the fact that we don't have anyone to kind of reference, right? Like our blueprint consisted of the retail shop, a music production arm, a content production arm, and a food production arm, right? And those four branches in initial stage of like ideation was to work like cohesively and simultaneously. But of course we couldn't accomplish all that at one time. So what we managed to do is, out of the pilot, at the time we only had a online store, and Chief was able to brilliantly acquire the space to where now we can transition from an online store to an actual physical location. So the hardest part of this whole system was accomplished fairly quickly, right? Which is being in a retail shop where culture bearers feel welcome. They're able to come into a space that's presentable, that represents them, that's for them, that's by them. And now we're in a phase. Chief actually is working on 3 songs that we're going to put together for our EP project that's going to help kind of like extend the music production side, right? We've partnered with Backstreet Culture Museum, which is a phenomenal space that also preserves the Mardi Gras Indian culture and other cultural contributions of the city of New Orleans. And we had developed a podcast. It's called Keep It in the Culture at the Backstreet Culture Museum podcast that's filled with like 7 episodes of great content, engaging culture bearers. So like we're now cranking out the content production phase, right? And now like the last phase of our operation is trying to develop the food aspect. We invested into a grill and we attended second lines throughout the second line season here in New Orleans to food vend, right? Second lines is a place where a lot of food cooking is done, and opportunity lies in that to come out and sell food, grill food. So the challenge is for us, I would say, with all that being said, was mainly the support around marketing, right? Marketing, first of all, because it's never been done, it's like, okay, what we really don't have anything in place to say if it's a good idea, if it's a bad idea, right? Secondly, marketing is, you look at companies' marketing budget, and some of it's in the millions because we understand the importance of being able to message to the consumer what it is you got going on, right? And how much you're selling what you got going on for, and but we made it happen. We didn't allow those bumps in the roads to deter us. It was times where Chief felt discouraged about some of his ideas, but he continued to press. And now we're looking at what perseverance looks like. He's sitting in a retail shop, right, where a lot of it was skeptical at the time because, like I said, this is a brand new situation. No one has done this before, so we don't have anything to kind of model. But Chief and his courage, he continued to press forward. He was able to acquire the space. I was able to build partnerships to get the production going. We was able to purchase the grill to get the food going. So like every challenge that arises, whether it was pushback on the idea, or whether it was a lack of support financially in certain areas, we found a way to persevere using our individual skill sets and experiences to continue to push forward,
Yeah. And so I heard early, I mean, so you've got the retail store, but I heard earlier that you started on online sales. And so are you still selling outside of New Orleans or to audiences, or what does that look like?
So we started with like a Google form that you could put orders in through, was the extent of our online store. We very much do still supply and aim to supply outside of New Orleans, and are actually working right now with the backing of Cooperation New Orleans. That's been incredibly helpful, and they're partnered with another cooperative org called Mycelium to provide technical assistance. So we're working right now on establishing a more robust online store that will hopefully be launching in the coming months. But yeah, our goal is to be able to provide, because again, part of, and I think Chief mentioned a little bit of this, but like right now we're really only selling materials and supplies, but we also want to be selling artifacts, cultural artifacts made by the culture bearers. So that extends to even, a much larger audience kind of globally.
And there was at least one person that wanted to know what was on the grill. So folks want to say, what's on the grill?
Well, I mean, we started off with the world famous D&D smoked sausage. See, the thing about New Orleanians is we don't eat from everybody, But if you got a traditional item, in the process of somebody being tipsy and understanding I got to put something on my stomach before I'm out here falling out, calling Earl, throwing up, I'm going to go ahead and get the smoked sausage on this piece of bread and call it a day just for the sake of not having an empty stomach. So, we meet them where they at, you know what I'm saying? And we be out there with the smoked sausage and the bread, the barbecue sauce, it's a vibe though, man. I think it's just something in the smoke of a grill that persuades us in a certain way, man. I just can't put my finger on it just yet, but it's something about that grill smoke, man. You know?
And see, by myself, like I said, by me being a businessman, entrepreneur, it's important to me for us to get together and sometimes take a risk. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, buy this, buy that, try this, try that. You know what I'm saying? And from operating cooperatively, of course, we're in tune with our cooperative supporters and backers, lenders that we're working with right now. But I remember Nick used to tell me this all the time when I first got started. I used to be all the things Nick was talking about, oh yeah, we got this arm, that arm, this arm. I wanted those arms. But look what Nick said. Nick said they don't really know us like that right now, Chief. We can only go so far and do so much. That was the case, and we just took what we had and just ran with it. That's all. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And we stayed in tune to what we were doing. We made the best of the little we had, and we still here. And like I said earlier, we're gonna be here, man, because the model of what we built, the model does work. The model works. We my vision as well, this is a little bit different from working cooperatively, but we do work cooperative. My vision was tourism. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about as far as just doing business in general. We want, just like how many dollars Diego said that New Orleans make from tourism come to the city, or why we can't get our 100 million, why we can't get our few million. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I think, guys. I think a little bit bigger than the norm. You know what I'm saying? I'm a dreamer, a visionary. You know what I'm saying? But I operate cooperatively. That's right.
So I know you all are supported by the world-renowned Cooperation New Orleans. I know we got some folks.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we are.
But, I want to see City of New Orleans, State of Louisiana, are there like government policies that could be in place that would actually make your work easier, make it easier for you to do what you're doing? Anything that you feel like the city, the state could be doing differently that'd be like, yo, if you would just change this?
I honestly, man, I think that, New Orleans, for one, New Orleans, I think, has one of the highest population of nonprofits, right? So if I can get you to believe in this idea of being a nonprofit, applying for grants, possibly competing against other people that's doing the same work, if not similar, right, but we're competing against each other because the grant is coming from the same pool of money, right? So if I could get you wrapped in the idea of a nonprofit and just that whole landscape, then what happens is you leave such a large amount of autonomy on the table and taking that route, right? So for instance, keeping in the culture, we're cooperative, so we're for profit, but the work that we do is far as community-based work that we do is considered in a lot of ways nonprofit work. But we're not dependent or waiting on a grant because we're for profit. So whether that's Chief in a retail shop selling materials, whether it's me Super Sunday on a grill, whether that's us with the hydration station collecting donations in the process of giving out the water, we're gonna recognize the autonomy that we have, right? And recognizing that autonomy, we're going to use it to our advantage and be as self-reliant as possible. So in terms of like governmental policies, I don't think that there's any like specific policies in place to like block cooperative building and cooperative development, but they have a large amount of the population, people that's doing community work, kind of like persuaded to take the nonprofit route, if you will,
Absolutely. And there you go, shouting out the fourth principle of cooperatives, which is everybody, autonomy and independence. Okay.
Yes,
So
yes,
there,
yes.
there you go. Keep it in the culture, enforcing cooperative culture. So let's so and we're almost to the end, so I just want to kind of do a few things here. Collective diaspora, we're here to build a network of Black cooperators throughout the diaspora, that are in relationship with each other, that are talking to each other, that are sharing ideas, that are sharing best practices. You all have talked about like the ecosystem of culture bearers there in New Orleans. Do you see value in the work of such a network that is doing this? Like, would that be of use to your cooperative? Or it has it, I mean, it already has been with Cooperation New Orleans, I gather.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Repeat
I
that
mean,
question one more time. One more
Absolutely.
time. I didn't.
So yes, so with Collective Diaspora, we're trying to build this network of Black cooperators around the world, that are
Mhm.
sharing best practices, sharing stories with each other, and just trying to see if you see value in a network like that.
yeah, I mean, what and I think Chief and Nick have both already put this really well, but like one of the challenges we face, right, is the not having a kind of, you know, example guide for like to kind of reference, or even just not, knowing like, okay, we're dealing with XYZ governance problem, or we're dealing with wondering how to, with a low marketing budget, still reach our, target demographic. Like I think just even having some of that kind of same type of familiarity relationship that Nick put when he's talking about, group chats available 24/7. Like at any point, if something comes to mind, there's been times where like people text at like 3 a.m, I feel like, and just be like, yo, like this thought just came into my mind, and we'll respond. When we respond, like I feel like that type of a network where information is flowing, communication's happening, doesn't have to be a whole like, oh, I have this question now, let me go through the effort of finding someone to answer it, and it can just be like, yeah, I'm gonna put this out, and whoever responds, whoever can support, whoever can tap in. That honestly to me seems super valuable for both for the cooperatives, but then people trying to step into the space as well.
Mhm. All right. And I see Nick has dropped a bit, but hopefully we'll get him back in a moment. But so and I mean I want to weave that question together, like, it's not just Collective Diaspora, National Association of Black Cooperators, the Black Co-op Conference, right? All of the folks are trying to kind of cohere these networks. So hopefully there's a near future in which all of these things are able to kind of talk to each other. But I want to talk about your future. So the vision 25 years out. I know Big Chief shared a little bit of that vision, but 25 years out in the future, we have time traveled. What are we seeing of Keep It in the Culture Cooperative? What is this process, this look like at that point?
Basically, what you're going to see 25 years from now, of course, from generation to generation, larger space, more materials, more supplies, in order to preserve the New Orleans Black culture. That's why we're here now, and then pass along to the kids, and kids pass along to, as we grow and create long-term wealth. Let me tell you something, guys. The materials and supplies that it takes to participate in New Orleans culture, it's very lucrative. From a Mardi Gras bead that we buy with our money to throw to the costumes, and not the costume, but the suits that us as Indians make, but the costumes that even the people who participate in the parades make and put on. It's a lucrative business. That was my main vision, to tap into the economy and keep our dollars in our community, because there's a lot of people who look like us who ride in these parades, who make these suits, who this and that. And before we were born, our grandparents been purchasing from people who don't look like us. The key is to switch the thinking in order to switch the dollars and keep them in our culture 25 years from now. Yes, sir.
All right.
And I think to me, I'll share this story, and I've shared this with the team, but in February I was over in Colombia, I got to go to Medellin for the first time. My mom's from there. And there's this neighborhood in Medellin called Comuna 13. There's a 13th like commune, basically. It's just the neighborhoods there are numbered. This neighborhood was deemed basically the most violent neighborhood in the world during the height of Pablo Escobar and kind of narco violence. But right now, if you go, it's this beautiful cultural, like there's dancers, murals, art, rappers, like everything kind of. And there's these tour guides. We took a tour through there, and these tour guides that operate Cooperative. They don't call it a co-op, but they're basically each own their own kind of guide company, but they operate, share resources, all of these things. While we were taking the tour, I asked her, I was like, this is incredible. Like clearly, you know, this neighborhood is completely kind of turned around, shifted. Does the money actually stay in the hands of like the people here? And she was so thrown off by the question. She was like, why would it not stay in the hands of the people here? Like, why would I work and anyone else get the benefit of that money? And like that aspect of like 25 years down the line, having someone come into New Orleans, see this and ask someone the question and maybe be bewildered by the fact that like the money is going anywhere other than the community. That's what I think it would be incredible to be able to see in New Orleans. It's just like there's no other way we should be doing it kind of mentality.
All right. And, you know, and this is, you know, there was a moment for a call to action, but we're very low on time. So I want to give a call to action. Just one, I want to shout out their website, keepitinaculture.shop. And if you go there, you will see a very familiar Adinkra symbol that you might have seen on diaspora.coop. So cooperators think alike. So what's the background on why you all chose the symbol for your emblem?
Nick had shared it with us and shared that it was for cooperation, at least as I understand it. And so, yeah, we kind of made a variation, putting in some feathers and plumes in the back to kind of tie it into the Mardi Gras Indian culture as well.
Absolutely. So, you know, I want to call folks to action. Visit keepitinaculture.shop. You know, and I would certainly like to also weave in that, you know, there's a lot that I've heard from you all in terms of how you're keeping stories and keeping culture. So, you know, you're merging sort of the stories and culture with the cooperative principles. And there's a lot that the cooperative community can learn from that aspect of your work. You know, and I say that as a dedicated cultural organizer, I think that it's one of the most important things we can do. And so I want to appreciate you all. I want folks to celebrate you all. Visit your website, get down to see the retail shop. Big Chief, Diego, and Central City Nick in absence. Yes, we celebrate you and honor you.
It was great being with you guys. Great being here, man. Appreciate you guys for sure.
Absolutely. And with that, you know, we are at a conclusion point. I'm supposed to play some music, so you know, I'm slightly distracted, but yeah, I'll get you all your music in a moment. And visit diaspora.coop as well. So, you know, I'll make sure that you all touch base there and drop in. And with that, I'm on it.
Se identité Haïti ak Nola Yaya ti Congo yaya Congwe Se frère ak se oe Pour ça qu'en face nous n'a paré Kembe jam di nous la Tamboun frappe racine mariée C'est créole nous ye Hey now Hey now Hey now I go one day Jari mo fino hanane Jari mo finane Conseil nous yé, drapeau nous représenté. Passé en haut, passé en bas, quand même n'a rencontré. L'aime jouer corné ou harmonisé, trop pétac, trombonier. Prouver ses familles nous yé, c'est créole nous yé. Moi dis moi na. Hey now, I go one day. Jari mo fino hanande, jari mo finande.
Performing. Beautiful night.
All right, folks. It's a great song. I didn't know about that version.
You go.
All right, guys.
All right.